Personally, I don't like to use the word holistic. We have the word where they call it, glocal, because it's global but localized.
All right, so here we are again. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're very excited and happy to be here again in our The Elementis Way podcast. Today we have a very special person with us, Rosmalia. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us today. How do you feel today?
Very good. Thank you for having me. Really wonderful to be here.
We're sitting here today in our very first villa of Elementis, Ubud. The very first hotel of the company, actually. So it's all is coming up together. So are you excited about what's happening with everything at Elementis?
Oh my God, it's just so amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm really, really, truly honored and so happy to be here. This is it, right? It's all coming to fruition. I love it.
And now it's all real. We are sitting here. The air feels incredible. We have no aircon. All of this technology, all of this ecosystem, just building this incredible place. So very happy. Rosmalia, thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to be discussing about one very, very common topic for you, maybe, because you've been for a while in the industry. So the topic today is basically building a brand and the marketing trends in the market. We will talk a little bit about the hospitality business because you've been super involved in it, and we definitely want to get a little bit more information and get to know you a little bit. So how about we start with you telling us a little bit about yourself? What's your background? How did you start it in the industry?
Interesting, right? And I've always loved people from a very young age. It's almost like I knew it in my blood. The service industry, it's always been there. And funny thing is, I started my career in the airlines, not flying, but I wanted to fly. The funny thing is, I've always wanted to be a flight stewardess. And during those days, people it's a big thing to be flying, because I'm Singaporean and they had Singapore Airlines then, and I thought, oh wow, it's great to be wearing those sarung kebaya, and then going up on the airline. But my mom says, no, you're not gonna be flying. I'm the only daughter in the family. You're gonna stay on ground. So that didn't happen, and so I ended up working in the hospitality business. So no, I did work in the airlines, but then for about 5 years, but grounded. Not flying, but as a traffic officer. That's when I met a lot of people, and then I realized I enjoyed this work, so I moved into the hotel business to build my career, and we're going back like 48 years ago.
Wow.
Okay, I know, revelation of my age. But then again, then it started my hotel career, and started with opening a hotel in Singapore, and then from there, my mother, who wanted me to stay grounded, regretted then that I should have allowed you to fly, because what happened was when I moved into the hotel business, I ended up traveling so much more, and I was even posted in different countries in the world.
Oh, boy.
Yes, so I was away from my mom a lot more than if I would have done flying.
There you go. One of the very special things that I have captured even shooting these episodes of the podcast, is that many of the people in hospitality has that, let's say, level of commitment to just move to a new place, go out for the company and open a new, whether it's restaurant, hotel brand, and just sort of travel the world depending on what they are needed. So what do you feel is like this level of commitment that you need to have, or how do you adjust your lifestyle to follow with this?
I just love different environments. When I was working in a hotel, I was never in one country for a very long time. So up until today, I've lived in 8-9 countries.
Really?
And posted in 8 or 9 countries. My children were born in 4 different countries, and they studied in many different schools, but they are now highly internationalized, and it's beautiful. Well, I love traveling. I love the adventure, and I love the fact that nothing is monotonous, and everything is evolving and everything is changing. So the hospitality world requires a lot of commitment. You've got to have it in your heart. You've got to love what you do, and that's the essence of it all. I love meeting people, whether it's the guests or whether it's the employees or the team, and knowing that you're there to help, to support, and do something good. It's just in me, and I enjoy. To me, it's not work. To me, it's part of the fabric of my life. Right. I love it. Yeah, I love what I do.
I love the passion when you say that, and I've seen you working, and I can tell that you have the same passion now that you explain it, that when you are in action. So that's extremely admirable. So congratulations for that.
Thank you, Pepe.
I can feel it, and I think that also reflects the level of work you do. Because one thing is to have like very good quality of work, but there's a very essential and unique component to it, which is the emotional part. So my belief is when you truly like what you do, you feel that passion, that willingness and happiness doing it is also reflected in the things you build. And that will take me to the new theme, which is marketing. Because you've been in hospitality, service, you started with the airlines, which I didn't know. This is very interesting. How did you end up leading these marketing departments and all of these, crazy ideas and concepts and creativity and aligning everyone under just one ecosystem? What does it mean for you, and how did you start it there?
It's amazing how the universe brought me to that. It was never intended. And all I wanted is to be in a business where I can relate and be with people. And so I started my hotel career after the airlines was, in fact, servicing guests, and I was in operations. My very first job was a guest relations officer. So I was in operations. I loved the job so much. I moved up the ladder very quickly. Then I was an assistant manager, assistant front office manager. So I was in operations of the hotel, and I was doing extremely well at a very young age then, because I was extremely passionate. And I was one of the first of a night manager in Singapore then. And to have a female night manager is very rare back then, and we were talking about the early 80s, but I was among one of a few who did that role, and I learned so much in a night manager duty, because things happen in the night that don't happen in the day, and so I've learned a lot about that. So then after about 5 or 8 years in operations, I wanted to move to sales. And I remembered clearly, I asked my general manager if I could move to sales. And this is a good learning for those who want to build their career, because they tell me, says, you're doing very well as an assistant front office manager. Why do you want to go to sales and bring your level down?
That's a fair question.
And I said, because I want to learn. I see the sales manager in the hotel, and I'm like, I want to know what they do, because they're not in the building, but they're doing something for the hotel. But I was not given that opportunity from that hotel. So what I did was I then moved to another hotel, because a general manager of an upcoming hotel was staying there, saw me and said, would you like to come join me? And I said, you know what, I'll go. And I went down, and I took 2 steps down. From an assistant front office manager position to enter into sales, I dropped 2 levels down. I was a sales executive or an assistant sales manager at the time. But I took it because I wanted to learn.
Wow.
And so that started with sales. Now, interestingly, how it got to marketing is even a very unplanned move. I was in sales for about 2 years, and then it's a situation where I had a senior who was not quite functioning in that capacity in marketing. So I was handpicked, to try out marketing. So I followed my immediate director of marketing, learned so much from him. And in a matter of 3 years, they moved me, and another hotel came up to say, come here and join us in marketing. And then the story of marketing came about from then.
Bravo.
Yes. Everything
great.
accidental move. It was
I
never
don't know if
planned.
that's actually accidental, because the way I'm seeing it is you started in operations, which means you learn about the business inside out.
Correct.
Which is something, when you're a business owner or you're building a business, what you appreciate the most is people that is actually knows about the business and that they are accountable, people you can trust on with certain tasks. To me, what you did was extremely brave, because you went to a whole different place, a whole new department for you, and you were willing and humble enough to start from the bottom to rebuild your career. So now you have the experience of all different departments, which means you can add much more value than just someone that has a limited visibility, right? So very brave, and we can say now great decisions you made at that time.
Yes.
So congratulations again.
I persevered, I never wanted to say no. I kept going and I kept going. And until today, that's how I am.
And it's paying off, so good on you, good on you. So now that you're in marketing and you've been like building different brands and helping hotels and the hospitality world in general, we see a lot of new trends in marketing, especially now with technology, the level of advance and the level of speed that things are coming, like AI and social media trends, and everyone trying to capture all of this information. What do you think is the current state of the art or the evolution of the hospitality business when it comes to marketing? How do you approach this?
That's amazing, isn't it? When I first stepped into marketing, there was this massive confusion about marketing being part of sales. It is always sales and marketing, and there's this massive thing about, marketing is just a part of sales because sales sells and marketing just advertises. Okay, the perception back during my early days in the 80s, marketing is all about advertising. Those days it was, and the advertising is nothing to do with technology. It was newspaper, magazines, TV commercials, those are marketing, and then it evolved. And I grew in marketing, and I believe I'm one of the very few in the industry at the time who challenged marketing as not a department. Because I believe marketing is something that has to be embraced by every single individual in an organization. When I approached it in that way, there were a lot of challenges. People said, marketing is still under sales. And then, but I'm very adamant to say marketing is a function, and it is a responsibility that everybody must embrace, in the sense that because back in the 80s, a general manager typically from a hotel comes from a food and beverage background. You very rarely find someone who is a general manager that comes from marketing or operations. We're talking the 80s and the 90s. It has changed now, of course. But when I become the director of marketing, when I hit a director of marketing level, I really embraced that and got all my executive committee to come forth, and they must embrace marketing, or we cannot succeed, because they need to have marketing in their mind. So here we have food and beverage people, and everyone is having to start to change their mindset. And I was one of the few who did that. So I gave a lot of lectures and talks about that, where I started to build marketing as not a department, but marketing as more a leadership responsibility that you should have ingrained in you.
I love it, and I think that's the reality. And I would say that, unfortunately, my personal take is that I don't think most of the organizations, even up until today, they realize about this importance of the whole role of marketing, which is, to me, as it is to you, it's all departments are equally important, but marketing definitely has its own place, and it should be taken in consideration from the conception of a company till the end of the days. It's like most of the information and the decision-making process we make as a business owners or just business executives usually comes from a marketing initiative.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my take.
No, everybody must have marketing in them. I mean, you cannot succeed without knowing how to market your product or how to see it. And then it comes to brand. Then brand is another thing altogether.
You're totally right.
Because back in the 80s and 90s, nobody talks brand. They talk logos.
Yeah, right.
They talk logos, they talk marketing, it's advertising, and you've got logos, right? It's a big thing when you have logos and all that. But what is a brand? Back then, people perceive brand as logo. To them, brand is logo, okay? And they don't see anything beyond that, you know? And so brand is a logo, so this is it, and then you market it, and you go into all these different channels, you know, of distribution and all that. But thankfully, I guess, because I see it in a huge, bigger perspective. And again, I was back in the early 90s, I was one of the few, okay, who people wonder, like, what is Rosmalia thinking of, right? And I came in with a thought process that branding, you know, is more than just a logo. And then I believe I'm one of the first to use the word experiential. Even before it became a word. When I first introduced it, and I remembered my colleague now, Michael Bouchard, many years ago, he used to tell me, what's that word that you use again, Ross? I mean, what is that, you know? That was about 15, 20 years back. And then now everyone's using experiential, you know? But to me, a brand is experiential. It is beyond that. You got to live and breathe. It's a DNA. And like today, whenever I speak brand, I speak of brand as being your DNA. You know, so you got to have that brand DNA within you and in that organization for everyone to embrace the culture, the values, and everything that surrounds the brand. So brand is very, you know, it's what makes the company.
Right.
You know, and
right.
it's everything sits under that brand. It's not about logo. A logo is a logo. The logo represents the brand, you know, but the brand, yes, but the brand is how people relate you and how people see you. It's much bigger, you know. Marketing is marketing, how you then convey it out to the market. So unlike before, marketing was purely advertising and all, it has evolved through the years where it has gone into this marketing and there is brand. Right. And brand is one thing, branding is another thing. It's totally different. You got a brand, and then you've got branding. Now, branding is the essence that I shared with you. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's the essence of it all. The brand is the logo and everything else. The branding is the whole essence inside that brand.
That is great. And I think everyone should listen to this episode just to learn from you, because I think you have so much to share with everyone. So for younger guys that are starting their career, even starting to very mature professionals, I think we can all learn from these concepts, because this is what we face on a daily basis, usually in every business, in every project you try to build. And I would say that most of the time, all of these concepts are just mixed together, and just I continue to listen a lot about just build the brand, and that means do a logo, define a few colors. That's it. And I understand it's much more. So let me take you to actually one of the big things we have today as marketing tools or medias, if you will, influencers. So influencer marketing, how do you combine this marketing concept, brand and branding, to these new experiences or these new ways to reach people throughout this persons, right? These characters that somehow represent a community.
Well, I would be very careful about using the word influencer. There are various definitions of influencer. So what's an influencer? I get a lot of influencers who send me messages to say, hey, you know, I have 3 million followers,
exactly, yes.
And you just give me 5 nights stay, you know, and I'll post it on my Instagram. And is that an influencer? My answer is no. To me, if somebody comes to me, then that person is trying to influence me. I'm not influenced by them.
Right,
you know, so it's a straightforward answer as no, they're not influencers. An influencer would be somebody who has massive influence to the community that they are in. I prefer to use the word of key opinion leaders. I prefer to use the word of key opinion leaders simply because then those people are very key in their community and they respect the decision or the recommendations of this individual. So, but in today's world, it has changed so much, and it's and not too long ago, I would safely say about maybe 7-8 years ago, influencers would be somebody who has an Instagram following of whatever and however, you know, and it's perceived as, oh, they can influence and people will have them and you'll see their face on their Instagram. But the problem is that same influencer may be in another brand, maybe competing brand, okay, and they're influencing the other. So the influencer's job was influencing everybody, and so there's no real loyalty. So to me, when I sit back, I was part of it, you know, getting influencers back then. But then it's dawned on me that this is not working, you know, because number one, it's hard to measure the returns. So then I then moved into the key opinion leaders, people who are really relevant. They may not have 2 million followers. They may have maybe 500, 600 followers, but real, targeted, authentic people who really mean it in believing in what they see. So if we can get into those, right? And that is the one part of an influencer that I would address. Another part of the influencer is, I would like to name it candidly as accidental influencers. Okay, I know you probably ask, what is accidental influencers? Citing an example, I represent one of a very, very popular retreat in Bali, and we had, and in this retreat, we have a number of people who have experienced difficulties in their life, traumatized, and they want to get into healing programs. They just want to spend time and heal and find themselves and all. So we've got this lady who came, and she fully healed herself, and she was very, very happy. So she posted on her personal Instagram, okay, about what a great feeling she had staying in this resort on her personal Instagram, right? And then she just tagged this resort, because she just tagged it. That's all she does. She just tagged and shared it to the resort. And then before you know it, that resort, then you've got everyone else saying, oh, wow, this is great. I want to do this. Yeah. So those are influencers that we don't ask to become one, but because the business or the resort has taken excellent care of the guest, so the guest by himself or herself, you know, just appreciates and starts talking and posting about it. And before you know it, that person influences. But is the person an influencer? No. But that person has influenced a wide community because she was genuine.
Yeah,
exactly. She was real. She's not somebody that we say, hey, come and do this, you know. And I believe in today's world, those user-generated content, as they call it, are extremely, extremely critical, especially with millennials, with the Gen Z. They see and they want to believe from people who have experienced it. It's not about expensive ads or billboards. You know, it's about who have used it. You know, and what have I heard about them? And these are not paid advertisements. These are genuine, real people.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely. Yes. And I love the way that you build up this story and base it on a real example, such as this girl. And my personal belief is that because we have so much information today and we have so much access to new tools and technologies, you know, we get lots of these ads and communications and influences that are trying to sort of force us to buy something or live an experience. It just doesn't feel natural anymore. So once we as a society, I mean, sort of realize that this is just another strategy. I don't feel good about them trying to sell me things. So I do appreciate when it's a natural influencer, so to speak, that actually shares a legit experience, an authentic, real experience, and the way they felt. So the more natural it comes up, the more I can relate to it, and the more I want to experience that same feeling. So I totally get what you said, and I guess the same way you described the evolution of marketing and branding, if you will, is sort of a similar situation with influencers. We started with mainly just followers. It didn't really matter much more than just how many people you have, and that's it. But now it's more of the real experience of what I can actually feel if this person actually can express everything, and I can relate to that authentic experience. So yeah, I like the way you did it. And it just brought another question in my mind is, do you see that the hospitality industry in general, from a marketing perspective, is taking into account local experiences, the local communities, is somehow embracing these cultures into their businesses, their plans, their infrastructure?
Well, if they don't, then they're in trouble, because they definitely have to. Why? Because travelers of today are not like travelers of the 80s. I've been through those travelers,
right,
and their mindset has absolutely evolved. Yeah. Today's generation, they are influenced, right, by experiences that they cannot experience in their homeland, or they cannot easily experience anywhere else. So the word or the terminology luxury is not about 5-star. It's not about, high-end chandeliers, $10,000 rooms. No, those are not luxury. What luxury means in real terms is something that if you get to, it's not easy to get to, but if you can get to it, that's a luxury.
Right.
You see, so if people have not experienced, whether you're in Bali, where we are now, and those who have not experienced the culture, and the beauty, of it all, or the freshness of the air in this room, if they are here, that is a luxury.
Right.
You see, so however and whatever the hotels or the properties are, wherever they may be, we have the word where they call it, glocal, because it's global but localized. So you may be a global organization or global hotel company, but wherever you are, everything has to be localized to the culture, to the community, and to everything that supports, that local ecosystem. That's very important. Maybe it wasn't in the past. In the 80s, when I was starting off in the hotel business, it was what we call cookie cutter.
Yeah.
If you know that, right?
Yeah.
You can go, in fact, the funny story is, I used to travel so much in Europe back then, traveling a lot. And sometimes because every 3 days you get on a plane and then you get onto a different hotel and then you start to stay in the same hotel chain, okay? There was one time, not exaggerating, it actually happened to me. I woke up in the morning and I asked myself, where am I today? This looked like... Am I in Rome? Oh, wait, hang on. No, I'm actually not in Rome. I'm in Milan. But how come I feel like I'm in Rome? Because suddenly everything was
just
the same, because you go to the same brand, to the same hotel, in a different location, in a different city, even in a different country, but when you wake up in the morning, they look identical.
You feel the same.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Those were the 80s. The 80s were like that. We used to call it cookie cutter. And even the hotel lobby, when you enter, a hotel lobby, and if it's a big brand, when you go to another country, which is probably 23 hours further, okay, and you go there, the lobby is the same.
It still feels the same.
It still feels the same. We are so like, okay, where am I here? You know, but back then it was that international concept is that you got to have that, the black marbles and all of that. But thankfully now, because of the evolution, the changing mindset of people, the Gen Z, the millennials, they've really pushed this forward. They don't want this. They don't want cookie cutter.
Right.
The days of big hotels, cookie cutter, has evolved. That is why big hotel brands are branching out into different names, you know, because they want to localize to make a difference, and they will have to respect the local community and anything and everything that's local in their destination. And that's very critical. Absolutely. To answer your question, yes, they must localize, because if they do not, they'll be in trouble. The only thing that has to stay is the international service level.
Perfect.
That they have to.
All right. So I love the way that you talk about embracing these local cultures and local communities. It resonates with me. I think it's critical. And it also, I think it adds much more value to the actual experience you get in every place you go, especially if you travel from one country to another. Usually part of what you want to do is to get a little bit of the local culture, you know, while still having this great level of service, this fantastic room and all the amenities and facilities, but get to experience a little bit of this culture. I think it's a beautiful thing to do. And hospitality is probably the best way to bring this to people. So following that idea, but changing a little bit gears, is what would you say is the evolution, or how do you adapt from a marketing perspective to change demographics, especially thinking today of people moving around constantly? You know, after pandemic, we have much more people moving from one country to another, working remote. How do you adapt to those changes?
Well, you know, it's absolutely a great, amazing change to me, to the positive. Absolutely. COVID, as bad and badly affected many of us are with it, has accelerated many things in our lives that we never thought we could or would be doing at such a pace, right? And so many of us, none of us are spared of COVID. In some shape or form, we are affected by it.
Totally.
But it changed my personal life as well. And similarly, I'm more than certain that it has changed travelers' way of looking at selections of travel destinations or even their travel patterns. Yeah, and so demographics will change, because we see today many of the older generation, the baby boomers, they tend to take a bit of a step back. So there's two parts of it. They take a step back to like, I'm going to spend a bit more time with my family.
Right, yeah.
I'm going to do early retirement, okay, or however that is, but I'm going to just take a step back and chill, because I realize that I need it, because COVID have forced us all to stop, right? And then you disengage and realize that I probably need this, or you go back into doing what you would be doing, but still taking a step back, not as, intensive as it used to be, in a different way. But having said that, these people are the early retirees. And so these early retirees will then have that income and start to think, now that's no COVID, what am I going to do? Let's do something. Let's go venture to places that we've not ventured before. Life is too short. I'm not going to the more commercialized places. I'd like to go to places that people don't go to, something that's unique, something that I can write about, like in my bucket list.
Right, yeah.
A lot of people are thinking that way. Close friends of mine are thinking exactly that way. I've even had a very good friend who went to Alaska not too long ago, who would have thought about going on a vacation there, but, people do that now. And I hear now tourism in places like that are really coming up, because everybody wants to go to untouched places. So demographics has shifted in the older age group who are the baby boomers like me, right? And then we get to the next segment of travelers, which are the millennials, and then the Gen Z, and you have the Gen Y.
Yeah.
The Gen Y will be more into wellness, longevity. What am I going to do? I've got to take care of myself. This is my health. After COVID, they have a lot of care about it. And then you get down to the younger generations of millennials and Gen Z who start to think this way. As they go younger, social conscious traveling becomes right there as one of the needs of these individuals, because they are more exposed to real life situations. They are more educated, engaged, and with technology in front of them, you can see what's going on in the world. They are much more caring individuals, more social responsible. And so this is where the world just moving towards making sure that whatever we do, we have to think responsibly. So the entire generation, from baby boomers all the way right to the Gen Z, are now into conscious traveling. So one, into thinking that I want to have healthy life, healthy living, and I want to be in a place where I can be traveling with my family and still be in a safe environment in every aspect. So health is very, very critical after COVID, because people see a lot of people, family members, friends, who actually pass on because of COVID. And then suddenly we realize that life is short. So life is short, so what are we going to do about it? So we all take a step back, whether we want to admit it or not. It is human. We think about it. We went through a major unprecedented trauma in our life, and it affects each and every one of us in different shapes and form. But travelers have definitely shown that change. It is shown in travel patterns, in industry reports, and even in hotels and resorts that are existing. They are all switching and converging into making sure that anything and whatever they do are mindful. And that's the new generation of travelers.
Everything you just say and the way you describe it, it resonates with me, because personally, when I looked at traveling with my family or by myself, those are exactly the things that I take today into consideration. Like, what is the level of sustainability of healthy either treatments, or what type of programs do these places have, what type of facilities do they have. So there are new components when it comes to analyzing where to go and where to stay. So my belief, or I would like to believe, that the industry, hospitality, from a marketing and so from an operational point of view, is embracing this new change in consideration. I like to believe that COVID, after all the bad things that it meant for all of us, for the entire world, it left a lot of positive learnings. And I guess it's pretty much what we can do, right? Is either we are completely sad about it, or we just are determined to learn from it and become better and build better solutions, build better places. So what do you see from the industry being inside? Do you think the industry is taking this at a new level? Is it just offering new services, like I will improve my wellness center, my spa center within my hotel? Or is this new approach taking more of a true sustainable development, a true wellness, well-being program, something I designed because I believe and I think it will impact people's lives? What is your thoughts, and what do you think the marketing approach is in regards to this?
Well, interesting question, Pipe, because I bore witness to two sides of the coin. We do have businesses, unfortunately, who takes advantage of it. Who sees that people are moving towards that direction. So it becomes a money-making, profit-making, opportunity. And so you can actually see at, how would I say it, superficial level, that it looks, whoa, great, but one has to be very careful, because there are those who are just doing it because they want to be in it because everybody says this is it, right?
Yeah.
And then there's another group who are a group of people whose heart has opened up, who has learned through troubled and difficult times, who gave up whatever that they've had before to turn around and say, this is it. I'm going to do this because I'm going to help. And I want to, because I survived and I did what I did and it helped me and my family.
Right.
And I want to share this.
Right.
And this is what I will be doing, or this is how I'm going to change my business practice, or this is how I'm going to switch the business model. So there's these two groups of people. I hate to use the word, but they're opportunists.
It's a reality,
yes.
right?
And you have the realists. Yes.
We have to address there is a reality on this.
And it's a painful truth, you know.
Yes, exactly.
So as the consumer, in fact, I believe, I'm more than convinced that the consumer of today can tell the difference. They can tell the difference, but it's a question of whether do they care about the difference, or they don't. But at least the people in the community that I'm with, they're very sensible and they do look at the realities. And if it is sincere, if it is true, you go all the way. Because the word sustainability, the word eco-friendly is so overused,
yes.
That if we're not careful, it loses its meaning. And as a marketer, I'm very, very careful about using this word, overly using the word.
That's a very good point.
It's like, personally, I don't like to use the word holistic, for example, okay? Why? Because every corner you go, okay, everyone is saying, this is a holistic way. What really is holistic? Because we're laughing, but this is true. I mean,
That's why I'm laughing. It's so true.
Me as a marketer, whenever the definition of holistic that everyone uses, it's like anything that is not using pharmaceutical. Okay, that's what they're thinking is like anything that's using nature, that's holistic. But that's actually not holistic. What holistic means, it's holistic, it's everything, it's all encompassing, it's completeness, and things that you do that is affecting deeply your inner self, and not just to fix one part of yourself, but everything, it's very comprehensive. It's beyond comprehensive. So that's holistic. But why don't I want to use that? Because people then will have the wrong meaning about what I'm trying to say if I use the word holistic. So I don't want to use holistic, although the dictionary tells you a different story. But general perception is wrong. So as a result, how I define, if I want to define personalization and customization and completeness, I'll use the word. I don't use holistic. I mean, the words eco-friendly, the words, sustain. You got to be careful how you use it because everybody uses it, and so as a marketer, it's a challenge. Yeah?
It's a challenge.
Because you don't want to
repeat
that.
It makes you more authentic. Or I would believe it expresses better what you actually want to say, because we hear this all the time. Like you go to any place and you're right. Like and that's why I'm laughing, because everything is holistic. Like I want my holistic lunch. I don't even know what it means, but So I get it, and I think that's actually one of the key things that attract me from Elementis, that it has this approach that is trying to touch on every sense and every piece of the puzzle, just to make it a whole natural experience, very organic, very much based on the community. So you became the Chief Brand and Marketing Officer for Elementis. What does that mean to you personally, building this brand? And then what are the aspects of this brand that makes it so unique?
Well, you know that you have a choice in life. Yeah. I have a choice in my life, and my choices are I work with people that I trust, that I believe in. And if it had been 30, 40 years younger, life would have been so much different, okay? Back then, when I was growing my career, as I mentioned how I started in the airlines and moved into titles are big, okay? You want to be, you just whichever hotel that gives you the better salary, and puts you in a better title, you go, right? You go and you climb up the ladder. Those days are gone. Okay, I mean, it's like once you reach to that stage, because when I became Senior Vice President Marketing, I was in China then, I asked myself, how far can I go? It's like, all right, I'm a Senior VP now, right? And so what's
next?
What's next? I mean, President, not that excited about it, because I realized it gets lonelier the further up you are.
Yeah,
I believe when I was Senior Vice President in China, it was my loneliest job in my entire career.
Really?
Because you're high.
Yeah.
And then I'm used to going down there, right? It was a good job, but personally, it's just me. It was not fulfilling because I couldn't get to the nitty gritty to do things. Suddenly I'm there and I've got all these VPs and very high level, right? And I wasn't enjoying it, and something was missing. And as the universe has it, China crashed. So
not that we're happy about it, of course.
But it's the way the universe works, right? I was there supposed to be on a 5-year contract. It ended up 2 years, and I was overseeing ski resorts.
All right.
And why I chose to do that? Because I wanted. Well, you have to remember, I was very young then, okay? This was many years ago. Because I just wanted ski resort in my portfolio. The honest truth, okay?
Really?
Because I'm a Singaporean. I've done beach resorts. I've done, I've done integrated resorts. I've done city destination. The missing piece was skiing. I'm in Singapore. There's no snow in Asia.
You don't have airline in your background.
So when the opportunity came, says, okay, we've got this opportunity, the 5 ski resorts, Olympic resorts, and Heilongjiang province, very big company, right? The first thing that captured my eye, number one, was China. Because back then, China was a big thing. If you have China in your portfolio, that's it.
Again.
You're like sought after, That was the selfish thinking I had then, right? And not just that, and then it was a ski resort. So I said, whoa, okay.
This is
opportunity. I mean, how often do you get an opportunity, and then you're Senior Vice President. So I moved. I went to China, but then I realized it was very lonely, and I had to go to minus 40 degrees destinations, and then there was snow this much, and my whole half body was, and then I was learning about, snow machines and everything else. Fascinating, great experience, but it was kind of lonely, because you're suddenly there, you don't have a team. Your team are all the VPs and everyone else. So it's like in an office, and I do go to the field, but yeah. But 2 years later, the China economy crashed, right? So company was sold off, and then everything else, and we moved on. So that's when I came back into Asia. And and with that experience, I mean, I realized that, you just selfishly, when you were younger, going after titles, positions, and all that. But as you get older, you realize that you can make a choice in what you want to do. So I started making choices in the job that I do. If I feel that it doesn't fit my philosophy or my values, I do not go to that company.
Good on you.
It was as simple as that. But at the time, I was an employee still until COVID. When it came to COVID, after COVID, then I ran my own show. And that was even better, because then when I was approached by different organizations, I was able to see, and I was able to work with companies and organizations and owners and developers who fit my values,
right,
and who fit into how I see things. When Elementis came to me, the first thing that came to my mind was when they came up with sustainability, I was like, another one. You know what I mean? Like, okay, another sustainable thing, right? So I was among one of the skeptics. I have to admit, I was among one of the many skeptics. This was almost 2 years ago, over a year ago, because nothing was happening there. We were like, okay, yeah, all right, this is happening. But but somehow something tells me that, there's something about it. And I personally met the owner and founder, Anton. I mean, you know how it is when your vibes, the first feeling you can tell at the first meeting, like there's something about this guy, it's like, I'm gonna hang around a little bit more. There was nothing at the time, right? And I did. And I saw how it grew and how he built. And then suddenly in this room, this show villa, and that was it. And then immediately I said, I love not just product, I love the way the business model works, because it is a very real business that we are in. It's not corporate. It is evolving. It involves, different people. And again, it is not one of those that we're only taking 5-star brands or 5-star developers, architects, and all that. But no, what I love about it all is that this brand gives opportunities to people to develop and grow and bringing them up to the pedestal. That's what I like about it. I love it that they're giving chances to people, and I love it they're putting them up on the pedestal to grow together with them. I love that. I think, to me, that is human. People in the world now are lacking that. And here we are in this organization, in this company, where that is exactly what we're doing. And that's why I'm here. And I love to market that. I love to market stories. And I love the story that's behind Anton and everyone else who started this.
I believe that your passion, your experience, and your knowledge, it's truly something very unique. I think your vision, it's amazing. And the things that you've been able to achieve and build here with Elementis are simply amazing. I can't wait to see the results of people coming in and having the chance, the opportunity to experience, to live all of this, just like we are now sitting inside this villa, beautiful with this clean air that is actually helping our system. And is somehow this entire ecosystem is helping us feel healthier and happier the more time we spend here.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you are here. I thank you a lot for spending this time with us. And there's just one more thing that I would ask you to do.
Sure.
If you were to describe Elementis in either one word or one sentence, what would it be?
In one word or one sentence, real. They are real. That's it. They're real.
I love it.
Yeah. In one word, that's the first thing that came to my mind.
That's it. You win the game. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's been an amazing and a pleasure to have you here.
A pleasure. Thank you so much, Pepe, for the time.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks, Rosmalia.
Thank you.